The rain had been falling in thin, sharp lines all morning, the kind that made the world look blurred, like a painting someone had wiped with trembling fingers. Michael Reed stood beneath the loose metal awning beside the grocery store, fighting the urge to sink down and let the exhaustion finally take him. Everything felt heavy: his jacket, still damp from the night before, his breaths, slow and unsteady, and the weight in his chest that had been growing ever since everything fell apart. He had once been the kind of man who walked into a room with easy confidence, but that seemed like a lifetime ago. Now he just stood still, head bowed, wondering how much more a man was supposed to lose before life decided he'd suffered enough. And then, through the thick curtain of rain, he heard small footsteps approaching. He looked up, and her voice said, "Mom thinks you'll be good for us. If you believe in kindness, new beginnings, and second chances, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts." The boy was maybe 7 or 8, thin but bright-eyed, with curls pressed damp against his forehead from the weather. Behind him stood a woman holding a grocery bag against her chest, her hair tied loosely like she had rushed out of the house without checking a mirror, yet she had this quiet strength in her shoulders that Michael immediately noticed. Her name, he would learn later, was Sarah Bennett. But in that moment, she was simply a stranger staring at a defeated man, her expression filled with something unusual, gentle concern instead of suspicion. Michael blinked, confused, wondering why a child would say something so oddly specific to a man they had never met. But the boy looked up at him with certainty, as if he already understood something about life that most adults didn't anymore. Michael had fallen hard over the past year. He had been laid off from his job at a construction company after an injury that left him unable to work for months. Medical bills swallowed his savings. His marriage, already strained, finally collapsed under the pressure. And when his ex-wife moved across the country with their daughter, the silence in his small, rented room became unbearable. Every morning he fought to wake up. Every night he wrestled with guilt, replaying the mistakes he could not undo. His life had stalled in a place where hope looked like a foreign word. Which is why he stood beneath that awning, staring at a mother and child as though the universe had played some strange trick on him. Sarah stepped forward in the rain, her voice soft but steady as she explained that she had noticed Michael in the neighborhood several times, sitting quietly on the bench near the library, carrying bags of donated food with quiet embarrassment, offering to help anyone who needed a hand despite his own struggles. She said her son, Ethan, had asked about him multiple times, wondering why he always looked sad but always tried to help people anyway. And today, Ethan had tugged her sleeve and insisted they talk to him, insisting that Michael seemed like someone who needed a friend. Sarah gave a small, apologetic smile, as if she wasn't sure whether approaching a stranger was foolish or brave. But she stayed anyway, holding that grocery bag close to her heart, waiting for his response. At first, Michael didn't know what to say. He wasn't used to kindness anymore. It had been months since someone looked at him without judgment or disappointment. The boy's innocent sincerity, the woman's quiet compassion, both felt like something warm pressing against the cold edges of his life. So he simply nodded and thanked them, though the words came out quiet and rough, like his voice had forgotten how to speak gently. Sarah asked if he had eaten. He shook his head. Without hesitation, she handed him one of her grocery bags, saying she had accidentally bought too much. Michael knew it wasn't true. He could see it in her eyes. But the dignity she tried to offer mattered more than the food itself. Over the next few days, Sarah and Ethan seemed to appear at every unexpected place outside the library, near the bus stop, or sitting at the park where Ethan liked to read comic books. They never pushed, never asked personal questions. They simply shared space with him, made room for his presence in their day. And slowly, almost unwillingly, Michael started to talk. He told them about construction work, about favorite childhood memories, about his daughter Lily whom he missed more than anything in the world. He didn't tell them everything, not yet, but for the first time in months, he felt like someone actually saw him, not just the pieces of his broken life. Sarah told him about her own struggles, how she had moved to the small town after divorcing her husband, who had never been truly present for their son. She had taken a job as a nurse, juggling long shifts with raising Ethan on her own. Some days, she said, she felt strong. Other days, she felt like she was just surviving. But she always tried to teach Ethan that kindness never lost value, even when life felt heavy. And maybe that's why Ethan kept gravitating toward Michael, sensing a man who needed kindness yet seldom received it. As weeks passed, Michael found himself seeking out moments near them, waiting at the park bench where Ethan liked to toss leaves into the wind, offering to carry groceries for Sarah even when his hands trembled from strain. He began cleaning up the little rental room he lived in, cooking simple meals, shaving more regularly, trying to look like someone who still had a place in the world. Something inside him was shifting, slowly and quietly. The numbness that once covered everything began to crack. And though he didn't say it aloud, he realized that the idea of waking up tomorrow didn't scare him anymore. In fact, he wanted to. And then, one evening near sunset, he walked into the park to find Sarah sitting on a bench, staring at her hands with worry tightening her face. Ethan was at her side, looking upset in that way children try to hide. Sarah explained that her ex-husband had suddenly demanded custody rights, threatening legal action she couldn't afford. The fear in her voice shook something deep inside Michael, the memory of losing his own daughter, the ache of helplessness. He didn't have money. He didn't have connections. But he had strength, loyalty, and a fierce determination born from his own regrets. He promised her he would help however he could, not out of obligation but because something in his heart refused to watch another child lose the safety of love. The days that followed were tense and emotional. Sarah struggled to gather documents, seek advice, and maintain her shifts at the hospital. Michael stayed with Ethan after school, walked him home, helped him with homework, even cooked small meals to keep the house warm and calm. Ethan adored him, leaning against him with trust that made Michael's chest tighten. He taught the boy simple carpentry tricks, told him stories about building things with his father when he was young, and listened whenever Ethan talked about superheroes, school, or the fear of losing the stability he had finally found with his mom. Their small home started to feel like something Michael had forgotten existed, a place where he belonged. And through it all, something soft but powerful formed between him and Sarah. Not rushed, not dramatic, just a quiet connection, a slow rebuilding of parts of themselves they thought were too damaged to offer anyone. Sarah saw the gentleness beneath Michael's rough edges, the way he treated Ethan with patience and tenderness. Michael saw the resilience in Sarah's eyes, the way she carried the world on her shoulders but still found the strength to smile. Some evenings they sat together on the porch, Ethan asleep inside, talking under the warm glow of the porch light. They didn't discuss love. They didn't need to. The feeling grew unspoken, steady, undeniable. But life always tests the things worth keeping. When Sarah's ex-husband arrived one afternoon unannounced, loud, aggressive, demanding, and full of misplaced anger, Michael stepped outside with calm composure. He didn't raise his voice, didn't provoke. He simply stood between the man and the woman he cared for, holding a kind of strength that didn't need to be shouted to be understood. And maybe it was that stillness, that quiet yet undeniable conviction, that made Sarah's ex-husband falter. He eventually left with a warning, but for the first time, Sarah didn't feel powerless. She felt protected. That night, Michael found himself overwhelmed by memories of Lily, wondering if she would be proud of the man he was becoming. For so long he had believed he was unworthy of good things. But Sarah's soft gratitude, Ethan's trustful eyes, and the small warmth blooming inside their home made him realize something he had forgotten: people were allowed to start over, even after losing everything. Weeks later, the legal situation resolved in Sarah's favor. Her ex-husband backed down, unable to prove stability or genuine involvement. When she received the official notice, she stood on her porch with tears streaming down her face, and Michael held her, feeling her relief tremble through her body. Ethan hugged both of them, whispering that he had known everything would be okay because good people always protect each other. And in that simple statement, Michael felt something inside him finally settle. If this story has touched your heart so far, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps bring more emotional, meaningful stories to the world. Life didn't magically become perfect. Michael still struggled with work, but Sarah helped him apply for safer jobs that wouldn't strain his injury. He eventually secured a position at a home repair company, surrounded by people who respected his skill and character. He began saving money, rebuilding the life he once thought was lost forever. And slowly, as days passed, he became an integral part of Sarah and Ethan's life, not out of desperation, but out of genuine connection and chosen family. One golden evening, months after that first rainy day beneath the grocery store awning, Michael sat at the kitchen table with Ethan, helping him glue pieces of a wooden model plane they had built together. Sarah stood